We are here for another live at the Realty Podcast, and today I have a very special guest, and I want to make sure I do this right. This is Dr. Moog Hamill, recently retired from the Canadian Armed Forces and was Army Reg Force Master Warrant Officer, father of 6 children, now owner of Zen Orchard, which includes the Zen Orchard Initiative. And that is, what is Zen Orchard Initiative? You told me is how to achieve world peace, starting from home with vulnerable humility.
I had a crazy life. It felt like living many life in one. And now that I'm retired after 23 years, and I was also raised, my father was in the infantry for 42 years. So my goal was to seek peace, a place that I can feel peace and a place that our family can live in peace. But it's not that simple, because what is peace, right? Like there's what we do consciously, what we do subconsciously, and I do struggle with PTSD, amongst other things.
Okay.
When I first moved in my home, I could only feel comfortable in my closet. And then as I got better, then I was okay in my bedroom. And then I sort of enlarged my perimeter more and more. And then eventually I wanted to feel good on the land too, because we got a 2-acre land for that, to enjoy it, right? To care for it. And nature is extremely important for me. So then I started to carve our land, bushwhack and trim the trees in using techniques that I was looking from around, like Japanese way of caring for forest and indigenous way, worldview ways of caring for forest, and even turning it into a peaceful art form, a place that felt zen, right? Because while we do have apple trees and fruit trees and different products in the long run, we're free revenue, of course, the goal is to harvest zen, to harvest the teachings that are required through the journey of becoming a more balanced person. And the challenge with that is that we all suck in some way.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to accept it, because sometimes we're not conscious of it. And first, we need to be able to accept constructive criticism, not only from how we feel and how we're perceiving, but how others are perceiving us. Now, I'm not saying beat yourself over it, but of course, you have to filter. But we still need to be able to look at ourselves with a step back and then see, how can I make things better? What can I improve myself? I had struggles with my wife, like every relationship. And every time that we had a difficult disagreement, I was adding something in my home of a reminder, like, be careful the vibe you bring into the home, things like that. I did go to a trauma center in British Columbia, and they were making us walk in circle around the land when I was there, and the paths were all right. I mean, it was not that amazing, but that's something that I wanted to do in my home too. So I try to have paths that are inspiring, but still within PTSD awareness concept. Why does this have anything to do with world peace? Well, intelligent conversations and emotional intelligence, communication overall, is an extremely difficult thing that is, we're not putting enough emphasis on communicating difficult topic. The level of skills that we take at communicating at work, we must be able to do that at home with our our children, with our spouse, and we also need to filter and set boundaries that are healthy for proper communication, with everything on the table up for discussion, so that we can really balance everything, because it's really all about balance, right? Everything can be good or bad. You just got to find a level that works for you. Now, if you look at wars around the world, it is a lack of communication, right? Like if you look at our politics, it's the same thing. It's we are trying to resolve with conflict instead of resolving the conflicts, and we cannot hope to achieve world peace as human being when we can't even have peace in our own home, when we're oblivious to how we may or may not be hurting people around us, or oblivious to how we may or may not be hurting ourselves based on what's our life experiences. And with that, I think from a realtor standpoint,
Yes.
it's important to have PTSD awareness. There's a lot of things that people...
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Elaborate on that.
Yes.
PTSD in the world of real estate. I mean, I could see it. I can understand.
yeah.
Okay. But I like you to delve more into it.
Good. So, of course, I was in the Army, so often we associate PTSD with Army careers. But PTSD, there's a lot of different kind, right? It's basically trauma trigger, and you do have a background in psychology, which is great for this conversation. So I know that you can appreciate the effort. Empathy is everything.
Yeah.
And
true.
in sales, empathy is just as important, because selling is an experience. The product is not just what you're buying. Like you're building a relationship, you're building your brand.
Absolutely.
You're building that long-term relationship and these referrals. And for that, you have to make the person feel at peace. And if you're not aware of the mistake that you could be doing subconsciously, then you're really going to send the wrong message to your staff.
100%.
As a realtor. I'll give a personal example. I had 2 electricians coming to my house to rewire something for the hot tub, and it did not go well.
How come?
Their posture, the way they were talking, and then like one was telling the other clear the perimeter, meaning something totally different. Anyway, there's more to it. Not gonna go in detail.
Wow.
It turned out with me kicking them out of my house, and I was totally out of it, somewhere else in my mind entirely. Wow. And I actually told the site supervisor that he was not selecting his troops properly. That's how disconnected I was at the time. Don't want to scare anyone. But
wow.
It was not a good day in the first place. But what I mean is, it took me so long to build that safe haven at home that when you invite someone in your home, it's a big deal, right? Like that's
very true.
There's nothing more important to me than my family. That's my world. That's my priority. So while I don't care that much about myself, you are now entering into my family home. And just like any animals out there, it's a known fact, I believe, that, you know, if they're cubs, if they're babies or whatever, the animal will immediately challenge you, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't respond properly with that by showing that you're respecting that you're in someone's home, then it's not going to go well. And when you visit homes, what you're trying to create for your clients is that this is somewhere where they can potentially have their safety, have their peace. Now, if you're not conscious of what you're doing, like as a simple example, if you stand in front of a door while they're in the room looking, you are now blocking the exit. For a lot of people, this may be intimidating, right? And you have to look at people's reactions, people's signs, so that you don't involuntarily create this tension. Because you could have think that you did an amazing job, but based on trauma trigger, and like all those little signs that you didn't pick up on, you may have created a horrible experience for the person. And you know what? If you know, as an example, that the person have PTSD, and you look for a home where you can actually point out those things that are helping that, right? Like, let's say, okay, in your office, there's no window in your back, you have a wall in your back, it's facing the door, or like in that area you can actually see the front entrance, or there's a lot of things like that are not that hard to learn, right? But when you pay more attention, you can really show to your client that you care. You want their place for peace, their safety heaven, their nest for their family.
I always say, I mean, that those are so important and so true. They ring true. I always say we are so we're so losing the word. We're so honored and privileged. The word is privileged. We're so privileged to be able to go and see someone's home. Someone's home is it doesn't get any more intimate than someone's home.
Yeah.
Whether you're helping a buyer or you're going in to help a seller sell their home. Because you get to see where the most intimate moments occurred. It's where people create memories. It's where people become a family. Or sometimes, it's not always happy. There's sad moments as well that happens inside a home. So as realtors, we are given this important, very, I don't think a lot of realtors understand that, that this is someone's home and you have to respect it. And so I love that you mentioned respect. To me, respect is a foundation for everything. I think respect is a foundation for peace.
Entirely.
Yeah. And so with that said, PTSD in real estate, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you would mention to, like, if realtors are watching, and I'd love to educate our viewers, what are some of the triggers that realtors, I know you mentioned like standing by the door, but what other etiquettes do you think that realtors should be following?
Subtle loud sound. Always something to be cautious about, obviously. It is basic manners too, but some people are more oblivious to it. There's also the respect when it comes to a soldier, as an example. If you're trying to show the home where they can find peace and safety for their family, and you ask questions about their military career or whether it's policing or anything that,
Law
has
enforcement.
a rough memories, right? You can very easily trigger them into dissociating from where they are and then bringing that past into that home, which the first impression is now soiled by the heaviness of the past. So these are all things that it's just basically caring for your clients. And a lot of people had to move very often in their life. And I did. I think I lost track of how many places I lived.
Yeah.
And my home right now, I'm hoping it's my forever home. And it's hard to get used to the fact that it's my forever home. Because for the longest time, I did not even put frames up on the wall anymore because I didn't know when I was going to move next.
Did you live in boxes? Did you have a lot of boxes?
Oh, yeah.
And I usually say it takes about 3 years for you to fully unpack. So how often did you move? Like, would you be in a spot for more than 3 years?
I would say 3 years is about when I would have to move.
Wow. That is crazy.
Because there's two different things, right? They are posting and they're life upgrades. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, what is that?
I have 6 children as an example. So it's an upgrade.
Okay.
Right? And then there's promotions. There's, your lifestyle is evolving. You want to be closer to a certain school. You want to be closer to hockey or things like that.
Yeah,
for
activities
kids.
for the family. Yeah.
Exactly. So as your life move forward, there's also that's going to make you move. So
I also want to say, because we have a lot of clients, obviously, like Ottawa being Ottawa, there's a lot of our clients that are serving. And I have to say, like, I don't know how the spouses deal with these situations. Like, you know, they just have to pack up and leave. As an example, we have a client that they're just about to get together. They're just about to get married. And I just my hat's off to them. Like, do the spouse have to have a kind of work that follows, you know, the trend of your lifestyle, you know, to just be able to pack up and go? I mean, past COVID, obviously it's easier because there's a lot of work from home, remote work. But, you know, when it comes to spouses, like, I find it difficult.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, what is the challenge there? I would imagine that brings a lot of challenge in the livelihood as well.
So let's start with the obvious as an example. Culturally, ethnically, like there's a lot of things like that.
That's true.
Like, you may like a sport or something that is not present there. So there are major compromises that need to be made from everyone.
Right.
And often because it can be either the man or the woman or both. Or
right.
Whatever.
I'd say the spouse. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The spouse. There's the compromise that are being made are mutual, but it's not that simple because the two of them cannot understand each other's sacrifice. As an example,
elaborate on that.
There was a day when I was in Afghanistan and it was a really bad day. I could not call home for a while. And then a few days later, I managed to speak with my wife. I obviously could not tell her what I went through, but she was on the phone talking about struggles with her sister and her relationship. And I was getting frustrated, but she couldn't read my mind. And it's those difficulties that then when we're back home, then am I now supposed to talk about it? I don't want to bring that back into my home. And then sometimes things are not discussed enough. And because of that, our triggers are not exposed in a way that we can learn from them and turn those triggers into good things, right? Just like the Japanese broken bowl. As you know, I love that concept, the broken bowl mended with gold. Kintsugi, is that it?
Yeah.
That's what we have to do in life. When we break, and we're going to break often, we have to take what we had of, I don't want to say low value, but like an early accumulation of life experiences, break it, and then mend it back together with something that's going to make it more beautiful, more unique, right? And it's like that for spouse, and it's like that for serving members. We have to make the best of it because that's the lifestyle that we're in. So with all of these compromise, the stress, the difficulties, then now you have to move into a home. Then you got a week or two hunting trip to go and fight.
That is also crazy.
Yeah.
To find your home that matches everything you're looking for in a week.
Yeah. And then if you don't have that right connection with the realtor, that makes it even more difficult because it's too late to get another realtor.
Yeah.
So
I just want to insert that we are part of the BRGS, and I want to make sure we put that there. And if you're looking for somebody in Ottawa, we're happy to assist our team. And it's important. What you said is very important because finding the right realtor. So many times I've had situations where they purchased with another realtor and then they found us to help them sell it. Because when you're trying to sell it, you have more time, I find, to do your research. Plus, you're in the community, so you know who to contact. But if you're like moving from another city or province, it's very hard to find who you're going to contact. And so what that's actually really interesting, because a lot of the times I'm like, well, why wouldn't you go with the agent that you purchase with? And they're like, yeah, my experience wasn't bad. Did you know that over 70% of people, so this was there was a survey done by the National Association of Realtors, which is in the States, that over 70% of consumers wouldn't go back working with the same realtor. And the number one reason is communication, which is exactly what you are pointing out right now.
So my personal view, often I'm not from a city. I grew up in a small place. There was in the grocery store, there was a corner store, and it was
like
part
a village?
of a house. Yeah. Okay. And like the big thing was fishing. So
really?
Yeah.
Okay. That comes handy, fishing.
Yeah. The thing is, not everyone is from the city. So when you move into a city, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of everything that.
That's true.
To you, being from the city, I mean, not necessarily you personally, but someone from the city may be oblivious to those little sounds. While other people, like let's say, hear siren in the background. If you're from the city, you're used to it.
Right.
If you're not from the city, or also if you have PTSD, you hear siren, you may be on high alert. And then everything else that you're going to say, that the realtor is going to tell you, you're not going to be there. Like you need that a bit of a decompression phase, and you may not be aware of it because not everyone have that self-awareness yet. Because like I come from a generation where, what is it called? Anxiety. I thought it was a made-up thing. I know it sounds ridiculous, but like people would say,
same in my culture, like what in my household with my dad, like anxiety, it's not a thing. Yeah. And then I studied psychology, but
Well, and then I got a diagnosis of anxiety disorder.
Wow.
So that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I used to look at people, anxiety?
That's crazy.
So these are things you learn in life. But the thing is, while realtors are getting their realtor license and their training and build on their experience and get the training, the human connection, the human aspect, the fact that they are a part of this family, and they have to treat people as family. If they are too corporate, let's say, or too cold or too not relatable, it makes it really difficult, because a safety place is based on a lot of different things. It's not one size fits all. And relatability is everything. So you have to be able to provide a genuine connection before anything. You know, like even build it if you can before going to see the house or in between, and not just like a check in the box kind of thing, but like care.
Well, the problem starts with real estate school, I find, because they talk about building rapport. And what they do is oftentimes they say just find something common and just keep pointing out things to build rapport, to get to that transaction. So it's always with the goal of transaction in mind, right? And so that's where the problem lies. You have to be thinking about genuinely helping these people through this problem or challenge. And then, you know, the transaction is going to happen. That's just going to be a normal side effect that happens as a result of you genuinely wanting to help people. And one thing you mentioned, which is so true, is that you have to be you. You can't be somebody else. You have to be you. And the problem with also social media nowadays, everybody just watches all of these different Netflix shows, and they think that, well, if you look like that and talk like that, then you're sure to be able to get those, you know, that whatever commission or fees that you charge. But the funny thing is, those people that are on Netflix, they don't even have real estate licenses. So there's a lot of miscommunication on the media as to what a realtor should do. It's really about building that community. And the nice thing is, once you build that community, they end up coming back to you. It's not going to be a question about if you're the one. It's just a matter of time. that's been my personal experience. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so everything you're saying is absolutely true. Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. I don't know if you saw the movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
So it's funny because it really doesn't take him that much effort to learn to front and to put that mask that's going to fit right in.
So I gotta say something about movies with me. I have
Okay.
this like, I don't know if it's a disorder or what. I can watch a movie. I've watched a lot of movies, but for some reason I forget them after. So then I'll like I remember the concept, and I could watch them again, and it'd be like, oh okay, yeah, oh, and right before the end, I will remember the whole thing.
Yeah.
So what you're saying to me might.
So is that
That's actually true. Like I don't know why. That's the only thing with movies. It's just with movies that this happens. I don't know why. Except for movies that I've watched like so many times.
okay?
Yeah. But anyways, yes, I remember there's Leonardo DiCaprio. Leo, I
That's a start.
remember. Who can forget
Yeah,
Leonardo
yeah.
DiCaprio?
It's just these human beings want to belong, right? We
Right.
all have that sense of needing to belong, and based on the way that we grew up, we may need it even more. And because of that, we are going to chameleon ourselves into fitting right in.
Right.
But
yes.
fitting right in with the crowd of the realtor is not necessarily a good idea, because then you're going to relate laterally, but you're not going to relate with your customer. Your customers are human beings from everywhere. They're not realtors. They may hate realtor.
I mean, I'll tell you, full disclosure, before I was a realtor, I hated realtors. And I said, it's funny, I said I would never study psychology. And here I am, I have a degree in psychology. And I said I would never be a realtor. And here I am. Funny how the world works. And it's because of that, what you're saying, because of my view of realtors. I do not want to be called a realtor. Funny enough.
That's good. That's important. So what I mean by this is,
Okay.
I used to think that I did not fit in the army whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I would tell my supervisors that, and they would say, perfect. And then I couldn't understand it. Well, while there is a necessity for uniformity, just like in realtor agency, or, you know, like what is your recipe? Yeah, there's a need for that uniformity.
Yes.
But where does our true strength out of the box come from? It's from our identity. It's from where we come from, right? And often the strength of diversity is put in, it's sort of misspoken about. It's not really what it should be about. I think that within industries, the strength of it, again, is relatability and the ability to really connect on another level, where you speak a language, right? You speak different languages. If you speak the same language as your customer, then that's great. That's an immediate connection, may make the customer feel safer. And that's an
Absolutely.
easy example because it's language. But there's more than that, right? So all of these things that can make you relatable, that are part of your identity, that's what you need to let blossom through your uniformity. So maintain what works, be capable of removing what doesn't, but empower people to be human beings, because that human connection is what you're after, and that requires empathy. And if everyone in the world had empathy, there would be no war, right? Because we could relate, we could care, we would not see collateral damage as an acceptable thing.
Yeah.
It would be something that is discussed with emotion and care and warmth, not just doing your job, right? Like you were saying, the money at the end of the day is not whatsoever what the goal is, because
It shouldn't be.
yeah,
Yeah.
we all have bills to pay, and many of us want to upgrade. Some of them don't care for it.
Yeah.
And it's about quality of life. That's a necessity. But in the same time, it's the opportunity. It should be done with passion because you are a part of something that can make the life better. You are impacting generations. Just like there is generational trauma that can pass down, there's also a lot of positive things that get passed down through generations. If you find the right home where someone is gonna have as less trigger as possible and the best opportunity to evolve and to better themselves, then you are now impacting many generations by selling that home to them. And you can even build a relationship with them, and they will remember their home, the nest of their family, as you are the person that made that happen. And that is a huge
That's
deal.
beautiful.
That's a huge
Yep.
deal. That's just as important as a therapist or priest for religious people, like
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah.
It serves an important purpose which can do either good or bad. But you have to have faith in your ability to care, and you have to be genuine. Otherwise, people can feel that, right?
Yeah.
Like when there's a fraudster, people see it. People see through it. If it's like fake compliments or, too much or not enough,
Yeah.
then
Not enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
But it's true, not being fake. Now, being fake, I find, can also be sometimes cultural too. There are certain cultures that showing your true self is not something that is, there. It's not something that's promoted. And I think that also with media, it's something that's also not promoted. People try to be themselves, but the problem is media or the algorithm likes a certain personality, right?
what is not being fake? That's, of course, a big question, right? And I think that in a world that is increasingly flooded by anxiety, in part because of our phones, like we all have that addiction to our phone, it makes us
Not
even
me.
yeah. It makes us even less want to stand forward out of the crowd, right?
Yeah.
People are just going to cover
That's so true.
themselves
Yeah.
and wait until they pass by. Meanwhile, being real means being willing to put yourself out there that you don't fit amongst those who are fitting in, because that's not your crowd yet. And then you're going to risk spending all your life with the wrong group of people, because you have to entitle yourself to be you so that you can attract the people that have these similarities. And that's a gift. And a home is the same way. You can try to find a home that reflects the family, that reflects the character, like the neighborhood, like the ambition. Like, okay, what's your dream in life? Oh, I want to be a doctor. Hey, here's a home right by our hospital.
Yeah.
Like, or let's say your parents were doctors. Again, home by a hospital, because then you have that connection, that warmth, that memory. And even though they may be departed,
I don't know. As someone whose parents were actually doctors, I'll tell you, I want nothing to do with hospitals or anywhere around. I want to be as far as possible. But that's also a thing. That's the criteria. Yeah.
But these are discussions that need to happen. You
That's
don't want to
true.
assume, and just like what we're doing
You don't want
now.
to assume.
Exactly.
That's good. Yeah.
Pay attention to
agree.
the sign enough to be able to have the right conversations,
Right.
and then be smart with it, not just sales tactic, but build a genuine relationship with the person and understanding what they want and what they don't want. Because what you don't want is just as important as what you want, right? And then you set your boundaries and compromise on, the reality, the expectation, and maybe it's going to be a transit house, but
Yeah.
it's
I'll tell you, like, what I love about the military is that everything is so structured. And the traditional real estate is, I find, the exact opposite. It's like a lot of like mismatch of things. There's not a lot of structure. And so I find that those who are most successful have the most structure within their business. And that's something that I absolutely love about military. I just want to say that on the side. But here's the thing, you brought up it, I just find as you're talking, you're just saying you're just saying peace and no war.
Yeah.
And I kind of it begs the question, as someone who, I don't know if you don't want to answer, that's okay.
Yeah.
But as someone who has actively gone to an active war, do you think, for you to say now, to talk about peace, where is that coming from?
Okay. War has nothing beautiful. War is not something that should be. That's a flaw of human nature, something that needs to be addressed and corrected by any means. If we give up on world peace, then we are giving up on humanity. In the era where AI and robotics is becoming anywhere, we might as well hand the keys. But the thing is, a soldier does his job. He does not choose the war. He does not choose the battles. No one, I hope that no one, that's what they want, right? Hey, let's cause a war. Who does that? That would be politician.
Well, I was going to say, politicians are, so I'll tell you something. I discouraged my husband to sign up for the army years ago. He was so ready. We just got together. We weren't married yet. And I said, if you go there, I am done. And he was like, no, I really want to serve my country. And this is my pride. And I said, you're going to be nothing but just, something for politicians to play with.
Yeah.
And that is the cost of your life is what you're doing.
So here's the thing.
You're playing with. Do you think I made a right observation back then? This is close to 20 years, or no?
I don't want to get in the middle of an argument over supper later, so I'm not gonna say that.
But I like to say I like your input on this. I've always wanted to ask this question from someone who
people
served.
think that,
which, by the way, thank you so much. It's an honor. But yeah, sorry.
The way I look at it, it's about honor, dignity, ethic. Canadian Armed Forces have the ethos, and we have. It's not a video game. It's about being the right person to show dignity, and so that the way that you're going to go through your equation in seconds on what will happen next, that you're capable of filtering it with proper ethics and values. And I think that in the Canadian Armed Forces, something that we're known for worldwide is our heart, right? We care for what we're doing. We are.
It's so true.
It's a pride that we are trying at least to be good human being, and that's the best that we can do in life, trying to be good human beings. And then as we make mistakes and learn, then we not only correct ourselves, but hopefully also teach our children, so that one day we do go toward world peace.
Yeah.
I actually got in trouble the first time I said I was a pacifist. I was a corporal, and I told my petty officer first class that I was a pacifist, and he got mad at me, and someone else showed up and actually corrected him, and he said, no, everyone should wish for peace. War is not let me give you an example. No one wished for garbage in front of their house, right? But that's a part of the cycle of life, the way it's set right now. So it's not something that we want. It's just there's a need, so there's a way, and there's a way to try to do it as good as we can.
Okay.
I did not come here to recruit for the military, by the way, but yeah.
But you know what? These are really good. I'm so glad to be able to have this conversation with someone who has served, and these were always something in my mind that I thought I was just curious about.
Mm.
But you said it so beautifully. So we're going to leave it at that. And I want to say thank you so, so much for being here. We're going to have you more because like your speech is so eloquent, and you are, I would say, on behalf of all the realtors, it really, really helps to know, you know, what we need to do to be able to serve our men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces better.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm not great at receiving compliments myself, but the way I am accepting it is that if I can put myself out here and risking to fail for the sake of being able to help creating more empathy in the world, then it's worth it.
Well, thank you so much. Really
Thank you.
appreciate that. All
Thank you.
right. So with that said, thank you once again for joining the Realty Podcast, and we'll see you next week.
À la prochaine.